share. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right. So we're live everywhere. Hey, Macy, how are you? Oh my gosh. So we're talking tonight about following intuition in business and how powerful it is. And I will pre-warn you guys, I'm a little emotional tonight, like in a good way. I've just been super present to how beautiful life is lately. And a lot of that's been just with like our son Jack and loving being a mom, and then simultaneously, my little dog from who has been with me since college and like my best friend. And I'm old enough that the fact she's been with me since college, she's an old dog. It's pretty clear she's like starting her transition, and it's just how life is, right? Stuff comes in and out. And so I'm kind of just like feeling all of that tonight, but I committed to be live and to talk about this because it's been so profound in my life to learn to trust myself and learn to trust my intuition. And so I want to share with you about how doing that and just going like full throttle into it created really incredible fast results for me. And I want to also answer any questions you have. So if you're joining live, pop your questions in the chat about intuition and business and what that means for you. Like, how do you follow your intuition? If you have any questions at all, I would love to help answer them. And so with that, we're gonna get into it and talk about it. So part of why I'm so passionate about this topic is my business background was so like logical and linear. And intuition is anything but. It is a knowing. It is just a knowing despite the circumstances. And that's where it gets a little tricky, right? Because your intuition will usually defy what looks logical. It will defy what you were taught was responsible growing up. And my personal belief system, I used to be weird about talking about this stuff, especially on LinkedIn. And I just don't care anymore. Like, I'm just going to tell it like it is. My personal belief system is that we choose our parents, and it's almost like an initiation where you're going to grow up in your household and learn stuff that you then later have to unlearn in order to fulfill your potential for your time here on this planet. So oftentimes your intuition will defy whatever you were taught was responsible or made sense as a child. So for me, I grew up in a household with two like really, really intelligent parents, like genius IQ level parents. Think about it like that. And everything was very logical and linear, and academics were what was celebrated. So I learned early on to get really into my head, but not in my heart. Hey, Alana. Hey, Janelle, how are you? We're talking about following intuition in business tonight. So if you have questions on that, pop them in the chat. But so I grew up really not knowing about intuition, and it wasn't discussed. And so I would always feel things as a kid. I would sense that there was like stuff going on. It's some stuff in our household that wasn't really talked about, but I could kind of just tell like there was tension that no one was talking about, or I would sense things with other people, but I didn't have a framework for it. So I would just squelch it and not listen to it. And so a lot of my personal journey over the past few decades has been learning to trust myself again. And that's what I'm actually so passionate about helping the women I work with do, is trust themselves, because you really do have all the right answers inside of you. You've just learned that you don't. Whoops. Okay. Hubby's calling. I gotta send him a voicemail. All right. So I had to relearn to trust myself. And so as I have over the years, it has really, really created just amazing results in my business. And so the context for tonight and the title of the live is how following my intuition created my first six-figure month. And y'all, I never thought I'd be saying that. I actually just recorded a podcast episode about it yesterday. And as I was recording it, I was like, little old me with a lot of limiting beliefs about money and what's possible. And wow, that's like, but it can happen, and it can happen like that when you make the decision and trust your gut. So I wanted to share with you, it really for me was following my intuition. And to do that, I had to take some very strategic key steps that I want to share with you tonight to help you. So the first thing is I had to block out everything that made me doubt myself. And that included books that I was reading by New York Times bestselling authors who, you know, you read a book, especially like a best-selling book by someone, and you're like, Well, clearly they know more than I do. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but that was kind of my framework. And that's actually not true. It's not that there's not value in that. I am such a reader. I love reading. Like that's my, you can't really see it behind me, but I got bookshelves behind me. That's my jam. Um, but I remember at the time when I was like launching this new program, 10K Club, and it was so intuitively guided, but I was using credit card debt to get some of the support with it and yada, yada. And I was reading books about just how bad debt was. And I really think you have to make your own money rules. So this is not me saying I think you should believe one way or another with it. But for me personally, at that moment, reading these books was making me question myself and almost go into panic. And so I actually had to cut it off. So, and it's not that I won't ever go back to reading those, because I think it is important to have different perspectives, but it worked pretty darn well to just listen to my own gut on this. So block out everything, especially if you're learning to follow your intuition. You got to block out everything that makes you doubt or question yourself, at least for a period, for some time. So that was it. The second thing is I really did not talk to a lot of people about what I was doing, except for people who shared the same vision, like my coach and my husband. That was about it. And I was coaching one of the women in the 10K Club earlier this week, and she was talking about the fact that her family members didn't support what she was doing and didn't believe in her. And I asked her, I was like, why are you talking to them about it? Because all she was doing was going to them trying to get approval she was never going to get. And the thing that I've learned in my life is I only seek opinions from people who are already living the life I want to live. And if a family member is living the life I want to live, then I'm happy to seek their opinion. But if they're not, then that's not where I'm going to go anymore for advice. And it's not anything against family. Like I adore my family, but it's knowing that the opinion you get from someone is always going to be framed by their life experience and by their context and framework for the world. And you have to look at what sort of life is someone living and have that inform whether you want to ask for their opinion about something or not. So following intuition is typically a pretty quiet, inward, obviously, it's what it sounds like. It's an inward type of activity. So that's the second thing. The next is I learned to just trust and follow, as my friend Allison says, follow the nudges, which again defied so much of what I was taught in especially corporate sales and how I used to run my business, where it was like, I've got this list and this is exactly who I'm calling and yada, yada, yada. And there's value in that, right? Like we want to have systems to support us and to structure what we do. But if you just do that and you don't create space to actually tap in and say, who needs to hear from me right now? And what's the next right move? And just, there's a beautiful thing that happens when you have such a strong spiritual connection that you're guided to what the next right step is. And this whole process has been so intuitively guided and so beautiful and so easy because it's just been do this next, do this next, do this next. And I trusted myself enough to know, like just to follow it and not be attached to who has to be my client and what's the outcome of everything, but just trusting next step, next step, next step, and enjoying the process. Almost like the way I feel about like sales and business growth now is it's like an Easter egg hunt. And I just get excited about, okay, what's the next step and what's going to happen when I look under this bush and this rock. And some of them are going to be slam dunks and some of them aren't. And that's okay. But taking the pressure off of yourself and just following the nudges and the downloads of do this next, do this next, do this next is so easy and fun and enjoyable. And that's when you create the space in your day every day to meditate in the morning and to pray over what you're doing and to have a clear intention for what you're looking to create in your life. And then you start feeling energetically what it's like to have that thing realized, and you start living in that space every day. The instructions will come, and they'll come in the form of your own voice, usually telling you, or an instinct to do something. But there's a big difference. I was talking with a client about this tonight. There's a big difference between busy action and aligned action, right? And I was the queen of busy action, where I always felt like I was so behind and overwhelmed and never getting enough done. And that was like, it's just not a fun way to live. But I didn't know any other way. But this way is way better. For a really eloquent way of saying it, it's way better when you tap into your spiritual connection through whatever means works for you, and you trust and take the next step and the next step and the next step. That aligned action is a million times more powerful than the busy action. It is. So we're talking tonight about following your intuition in business, and how when I followed my intuition in business, really awesome results came in the form of my first 6-figure month. And so I wanted to share this. There we go. Okay. I wanted to share this with you so that you can take what works for you out of this and implement it to your own business goal. The final step, and I kind of just talked about this, but it was not having judgment or attachment to the outcome. When we try to grip and control something so much, we squeeze all the life out of it. And so for me, it was feeling like I'm whole and worthy as I am, no matter what, no matter how much money I'm making, no matter what my brand is, no matter anything. It's like I just owned that I was whole and worthy and enough as I am, which was hard at first, because we're taught a lot like that's, it's bragging to say that you deserve a lot of money, or like that's your ego, or yada yada. And it's not true. It's just actually like you are whole and worthy as you are, and there's nothing you can do to change that. And when you own that, it helps release all the pressure of like having to make something work, because you feel like your whole self-worth hinges on it. So when you can just own that you're already worthy, and it doesn't matter how big your business is, and it doesn't matter how many sales you have, and it doesn't matter if your podcast is top 100 or not, but just love yourself as you are. You release that death grip on this thing has to work, because if it doesn't, then my identity is in shambles, right? Which I used to feel that way. So just releasing judgment and attachment to the outcome, and just having fun with it. Because in this process, if you follow it this way, you already are the person who has that income level, or has that type of a house, or that type of contribution in the world. And so the actual outcome of your actions doesn't matter quite as much. I mean, it's fun when it actually happens in your life. Like that part is fun, and you're a creator, right? So that is kind of the end result of this process, is you manifest it and you create it in the physical world here. So that part is fun, but you got to be it first. You got to be it inside first and internalize it first. And then when you kind of lose that grip on it has to happen this way, because you're feeling so good already, it happens that way or better. That's how it works. So that's really the final step, is just having fun and relaxing along the way. Everything you want comes when you are relaxed, receptive, enjoying life, not stressing about stuff, just like grateful, right? Grateful. I've talked about this a lot recently, but I'll continue to, because it's important, is, the whole process for me, just kind of in this first, like in this most recent financial growth, was expressing, like feeling so much gratitude for a future that wasn't there yet. Like feeling so much gratitude that it was real. It was so real in my mind before it happened in the physical world. And I would actually cry tears of gratitude in the morning when I meditated. And I still do. Like I'm creating new things now in my mind, and I'm crying tears of gratitude over that. But just feeling so much gratitude for this future that I'm confident is coming, and that I just have fun thinking about and imagining in my mind, and just enjoying. And then it's just like, oh, wow, this is so cool. Like, I love that this is what I'm imagining, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds in real life. And my only job is to have fun, relax, stay attached to the vision, and then follow those nudges and those instincts that come along the way. So that is your Following Your Intuition 101 class tonight. If you all have any questions, send me a DM. Share this with somebody who is going for a big quantum leap in their business. It's one thing to just learn the strategy and like the actual tactical, build this sales funnel, say this thing, build this pipeline. Like that's important, but it's the deeper work of actually shifting your identity to become the person who naturally and easily has what you want to have. that makes the whole process a million times easier. It's so much easier that way. And that's what I'm really lit up about doing for my clients and for myself. So send me a DM if you have any questions on that. And so much love to you. Thank you for everyone who joined tonight. And I will see you all very soon. Bye for now.